3 minutes before we signed the marriage license, the clerk quietly slipped me a note. He has 4 properties, all in a premarital trust. I watched him walk back toward me and only said, "I forgot my birth certificate." The air conditioning in the county clerk's office was frigid, raising tiny bumps on my arms. Liam was off buying hot coffee, worried I'd get low blood sugar since I hadn't eaten breakfast. I clutched the small piece of paper I'd retrieved from the sleeve of my portfolio, my fingers trembling. The words on the note were written in black ink, the pen strokes firm and deliberate, almost piercing the paper. He has 4 properties, all in a premarital trust. Be careful. 3 minutes ago, the middle-aged female clerk with a mole near the corner of her eye had slid that note into my palm while asking me to double-check my information. She said nothing, just gave me a deep, meaningful look. There was something in her eyes I couldn't decipher, something like pity or perhaps a warning. Liam returned, balancing 2 cups of coffee as he crossed the waiting area. He was wearing a new dress shirt. His hair was perfectly styled, and a smile played on his lips, as bright as the sunlight streaming through the windows. I looked at his face, at the man I had loved for 3 years, the man who was about to become my husband. Then I heard my own voice, so calm it sounded foreign. I forgot my birth certificate. I was 26 and he was 28 when I met Liam Davis. We were both transplants trying to make it in the city. The difference was, his family had put down roots here, while I was truly on my own. I worked as an illustrator for a children's publishing house, and he helped out at his father's construction supply company. He added me on social media after a friend's party, his excuse being that he liked the cat I posted about in my feed. My cat's name is Leo, a standard orange tabby who is as round as a basketball. Liam later confessed that what he'd really wanted to say was that he liked the person who drew the cat, but thought that might be too forward. Our relationship progressed smoothly, without any high drama. He'd remember my cycle and have ibuprofen and a heating pad ready. I'd bring him homemade soup when he worked late at the office. On weekends, we often went to the movies, ordered pizza, or just stayed in. He'd watch football while I sketched, with Leo purring between us on the sofa. During the 3rd year, at Thanksgiving, he took me home to meet his parents. The Davis family lived in a nice suburb east of the city. The house was large, decorated in an opulent style popular a decade ago. You could tell they'd seen prosperous times. Mr. Davis was a man of few words, always wearing a serious expression. Mrs. Davis, however, was warm and welcoming, holding my hand and asking me all sorts of questions as she prepared a massive dinner. As I was leaving, she pressed a thick envelope into my hand, smiling and telling me to come back often. Later, our parents met. My parents are both high school teachers, humble people their whole lives. They seemed a bit intimidated by the Davises' grand house. At the dinner table, Mr. Davis announced that we didn't need to worry about a place to live, as the family had property. My mother quietly mentioned, "We'd be happy to contribute to the wedding costs, as is traditional in our family." Mrs. Davis smiled and said, Of course. He's our only son. We'll certainly make it a beautiful wedding." And just like that, the wedding was on. The Davis family provided a 1,400 square foot condo for us, not in the most prime location on the outskirts of the downtown loop, but it was ours. Liam and I visited it several times, discussing where to put the bookshelf and where my art desk would go. He said he wanted to convert the bay window in the master bedroom into a studio nook for me, where the light was best. I said I wanted to save a corner of the balcony for a flower garden. We walked through the empty rooms hand in hand, imagining our future life. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder and said, "Clara, we're going to have a home." I leaned into his embrace, feeling that this was how life should be, a blank canvas being filled, bit by bit, with color. Our 2 families began the whirlwind of wedding preparations, booking a venue, choosing a wedding planner, taking engagement photos. One task followed another. Liam was busy with his father's company. So many of the smaller details fell to me. Sometimes, exhausted, I would complain a little. He would always just hold me and say, "I know it's a lot. Thank you. Once this is all over, we'll go on an amazing honeymoon." I picked an island resort. He said, "Perfect. Whatever you want." The day the engagement photos came back, we huddled in front of the computer, scrolling through them one by one. There was one shot of me in a white dress on the beach, with him turned to the side, smiling at me. The photographer had captured it perfectly, the sunlight, the waves, the tenderness in his eyes. I set it as my phone's lock screen. Then, Mrs. Davis called to say that Liam's grandmother wanted to meet me. His grandma was over 80 and lived in an old apartment complex in the historic part of town, with a full-time caregiver. Liam told me his grandma doted on him and that I shouldn't be nervous. The grandmother's apartment was old but immaculately clean. A faint scent of potpourri lingered in the air. A small statue of an angel sat on the mantelpiece in the living room. The grandmother was seated in a wicker chair by the window, wearing a navy blue cotton blouse, her hair completely white and neatly combed. When she saw us, she trembled slightly as she tried to stand. "Grandma, please, stay seated," Liam said, rushing to her side. "This is Clara." The grandmother took my hand, looking me up and down. Her hand was thin, the skin as delicate as paper, but it was warm. "Hello, Grandma," I said with a nod. "Hello, hello," she said, not letting go of my hand, motioning for me to sit on the stool beside her. Such a delicate girl. And soft hands. "You're a blessed child," Liam laughed. "Grandma, are you reading her palm now? I've lived more than 80 years. I'm a good judge of character," she said, patting the back of my hand. Her eyes met mine. "Liam, this boy. His heart is in the right place, but he's too compliant sometimes. You'll have to be the strong one." I smiled. "He's a good man." The caregiver brought out tea and cookies. The grandmother urged me to eat this and that. She asked about my family, my work, her questions gentle but detailed. When she heard I was an artist, her eyes lit up. "Painting is wonderful. A quiet soul. I used to love embroidery when I was young. A shame my hands tremble too much for it now." After about half an hour, the caregiver called Liam to the kitchen to help move something heavy. The living room fell silent, with just me and the grandmother. Sunlight slanted through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The grandmother was quiet for a moment, then she suddenly said, "Clara, dear, there are things about the Davis family that Liam may not have told you everything about." A knot tightened in my stomach. She looked at me, her gaze complicated, as if she wanted to say more but was forcing the words back down. Finally, she just sighed. "Never mind. You young people have your own lives to live. Some things are better left unknown." She slipped a gold locket from around her neck. It was an antique piece, its surface worn smooth with a gentle sheen. "Take this," she said, taking my hand and placing the chain in my palm. "It was my mother's, then mine. Now, it's yours." I quickly tried to refuse. "Grandma, this is too precious. I can't accept it." "Take it," she insisted, her grip surprisingly strong. "Consider it a small gift from his grandma. It makes me happy to see you wear it." The locket felt warm against my skin from her body heat. I looked down at the soft glint of gold in the sunlight. "Grandma," I began, looking up. I saw something flicker in her eyes. She turned her face toward the window. "There, now, keep it. Go see if Liam is done in the kitchen. It's time for lunch." Lunch was a feast, and Grandma kept putting food on my plate. Liam chuckled. "Grandma, you're going to build a mountain on Clara's plate." She shot him a look. "Clara is too thin. What's wrong with eating more?" As we were leaving, she walked us to the door with her cane, holding my hand tightly. "Come visit often," she said. I nodded. "I will." Just before the elevator doors closed, I could still see her standing in her doorway, a small, frail figure in the dimly lit hallway, perfectly still. On the way down, Liam said, "Grandma really likes you. That locket, she's worn it for decades, never took it off." I touched the locket at my neck, and the unease I felt earlier returned. Grandma said, "There are some things about your family you haven't told me everything about," I said, looking at his profile. "What things?" He paused for a second, then smiled. "What could there be?" "Grandma's getting old. She gets confused sometimes. Don't take it to heart." The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened, and he naturally took my hand. "Come on. Don't we have to go pick out wedding favors this afternoon?" The sunlight was a bit harsh. I squinted, the locket cool against my skin. The night before we were to get our license, my mom came to my apartment. She brought a thermos of soup she'd made just for me, she said, to build up my strength. But I knew she had something she wanted to say. Sure enough, after I finished the soup, she wrung her hands and began hesitantly. Clara, you're getting your license tomorrow. I wiped my mouth. What's wrong, Mom? Well, I just wanted to ask, have you and Liam talked about the future? The future? I smiled. We're just going to live our lives. What else is there? My mom shifted closer. I mean about money, the house, things like that. What have you two decided? I understood what she was getting at. Mom, Liam's family provided the down payment on the condo, and the title will be in both our names. That's enough. But what about everything else? My mom lowered her voice. I hear the Davis family has several properties. Liam's dad had a successful business, bought a lot of real estate. Has Liam ever told you about that? I shook my head. We haven't talked about specifics, Mom. We're getting married because we love each other, not for his family's assets. I know that, my mom sighed. But when you're building a life together, some things need to be clear. I'm not telling you to be greedy. I'm just afraid you'll get hurt later on. Look, the title for the condo will have both your names, but you're taking out a mortgage, right? You two will be the ones paying it off. What if? And I'm just saying, what if? All the other Davis properties are protected by some kind of trust? Then you wouldn't have any claim to them. I was starting to get annoyed. Mom, you're overthinking this. Liam isn't that kind of person. People change, my mom said, taking my hand. Clara, I've been around the block. When things are good, you don't care about anything. But what if, down the road, I just want you to have some security? I looked at the fine lines around my mother's eyes, and my heart softened. She was just looking out for me. I know, Mom, but I trust Liam, I said, squeezing her hand back. We've been together for 3 years. I know who he is. He wouldn't do that to me. My mom opened her mouth to say something else, but ended up just shaking her head. All right, you're a grown woman. You can make your own decisions. I'm just giving you a heads up. Just be aware. She stood up to pack the thermos. Getting your license is a big deal. Get some sleep tonight. As I walked her to the door, she suddenly turned and hugged me. My little girl is getting married. Her voice choked up. No matter what, if you're ever unhappy, you come home. Your father and I will always be your safe harbor. A lump formed in my throat. Mom, what are you saying? She let go of me, wiping her eyes. Okay, I'm leaving. Be happy tomorrow. After she left, I leaned against the closed door for a moment. The living room light seemed dim. Leo came and rubbed against my leg. I knelt down and picked him up, stroking his soft fur. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. Are you asleep? I'll pick you up at 8 tomorrow. I replied, not yet. A little nervous. He texted back almost instantly. Me too. But mostly, I'm happy. Clara, we're finally going to have a home. He added a hug emoji. Looking at his words, the unease my mother's talk had stirred up slowly began to fade. Yes, we were going to have a home for the two of us. Nothing else mattered. I replied with a smiley face. Okay, see you tomorrow. I didn't sleep well that night. I had a series of fragmented dreams. The grandmother's face, her words left unsaid, my mother's worried eyes, and Liam, standing far away, smiling at me. I tried to walk toward him, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. When I woke up, the sky was just beginning to lighten. I checked my phone only 5:30. I couldn't fall back asleep, so I got up and went through my routine. My reflection in the mirror showed faint dark circles under my eyes. I left a hydrating mask on a little longer. My hands trembled as I applied my makeup. I smudged my eyeliner several times. Finally, I managed a simple look and chose a white sundress. Liam always said I looked good in white. At 8 sharp, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath and opened it. He was standing there in a perfectly ironed white shirt, holding a bouquet of pale pink roses. Morning, he said, smiling. You look beautiful today. I took the flowers and smelled them. Thank you. Got your ID? Birth certificate? He asked. I patted my bag. All set. Then let's go, he said, holding out his hand. Miss Clara Hale, will you do me the honor of getting a marriage license with me? I placed my hand in his. Let's go. The county clerk's office was in an old 3-story building downtown. We arrived at 8:30, and there was already a line. It was clearly a popular day to get married. The line was full of young couples. The women, many in white dresses and holding flowers, had shy, excited smiles. The men mostly looked nervous, constantly checking the time or adjusting their clothes. The air buzzed with a sweet, happy energy. Liam and I stood in the middle of the line, about 7 or 8 couples ahead of us. He held my hand tightly, his palm a little sweaty. Nervous? I asked with a smile. A little, he admitted honestly. More nervous than I was for the SATs. I leaned against his shoulder. Me too. The sun was warm and pleasant. I looked at the sliver of his neck, visible below his collar, and suddenly felt a profound sense of peace. This was the man I would spend the rest of my life with. The line moved slowly forward. The air conditioning inside the building was running full blast, and a wave of cold air hit us as we walked in. An employee directed us to a counter to get a number and fill out the application. Liam went to get the forms while I waited. Behind the counter sat a middle-aged woman, maybe in her early 50s, with short hair and thin-rimmed glasses. She took Liam's ID and birth certificate, looked down to make some notes, then lifted her head. Her eyes landed on my face. Her gaze was sharp, as if she were trying to see right through me. I shifted uncomfortably and looked away. She went back to her work, handing a numbered ticket and the forms to Liam. We found a pair of chairs in a corner to fill them out. The application was simple. Basic information, a declaration of marital status. I picked up a pen and carefully wrote my name, Clara Hale. I'd written it thousands of times, but it had never felt so heavy. After we finished, we waited for our number to be called. Liam went to get some water. I sat there alone. The middle-aged clerk stood up from behind her counter and glanced in our direction. Our eyes met for a brief moment before she looked away. But in that instant, I clearly saw something flicker in her eyes. It was a look of recognition, or maybe sympathy. I shook my head, telling myself I was imagining things. Liam came back with 2 paper cups of water. Here, warm your hands. It's freezing in here. I took the cup, the warm steam fogging my face. That clerk, I said quietly. I think she keeps looking at me. Liam followed my gaze. Which one? The one at the information desk? The one with the short hair? He looked for a moment. Maybe she just thinks you're pretty. I shot him a look. Be serious. I am serious, he laughed. My future wife is beautiful. The numbers on the display screen ticked upward, getting closer and closer to ours. I stared at the screen, my palms starting to sweat again. Liam gently put his arm around my shoulders. Don't be nervous. It'll be over in a minute. I nodded and leaned against him, taking in the familiar, faint scent of laundry detergent on his shirt. For 3 years, that scent had meant comfort. Number 37. Please proceed to window 3. Our number lit up. Liam pulled me to my feet. That's us. We walked toward window 3. Sitting behind the glass was the same middle-aged female clerk. The nameplate on her desk read P. Peterson. She looked up at us, her expression neutral. Please sit. IDs, birth certificates, and photos. Her voice was a bit raspy, her tone all business. Liam passed the documents through the slot. Miss Peterson took them and began reviewing everything, her fingers tapping rhythmically on the keyboard. Sunlight streamed in from the window behind her, creating a glare on her glasses. I couldn't see her eyes. Clara Hale, Liam Davis. She read our names aloud, as if confirming something. Yes, Liam answered. She looked up, this time directly at me. You brought the photos? 3 2x2, red background. Yes, I said, taking them from my bag and passing them to her. As she took the photos, her fingers brushed against mine. They were very cold. She examined the photo closely, then looked up at us again, as if to verify we were the same people. The seconds ticked by. The couple at the next window had already finished and were happily taking pictures with their new marriage certificate. We were still stuck at the document verification stage. Liam shifted in his seat, a little uneasy. Is there a problem? No, Miss Peterson said, but her eyes were still fixed on me. Miss Hale, could you please confirm this information? She pushed a form through the slot, pointing to the last line. I leaned forward to look. It was the declaration of marital status, requiring my signature. Sign here? I asked, picking up a pen. She suddenly lowered her voice. Miss Hale, could you lean in a little closer? The light is dim here. Make sure you see it clearly before you sign. Confused, I leaned forward. In that instant, her hand shot out from under the counter and swiftly pressed a small, folded square of paper into my palm. The movement was so fast it was almost invisible. I froze. The paper clutched in my hand, my fingertips numb. Her eyes, magnified by her glasses, stared into mine. The look was intense. Then, she pulled her hand back and returned to her normal volume. Have you signed it? I nodded mechanically and signed my name on the form. My hand was shaking, and the signature came out crooked. All right, she said, taking the form back. Please wait a moment while I make copies. She gathered our documents and walked into an office behind her. Liam turned to me. What's wrong? You're as white as a sheet. I clenched my fist, the note digging into my palm. No, nothing, I heard myself say, my voice trembling. Maybe it's just the cold A.C. Miss Peterson was only gone for 2 or 3 minutes, but each second felt like an eternity. I held the note in my palm, feeling like I was holding a hot coal. It burned so much I almost cried out. I wanted to open it, but I was afraid. Liam was right there, his hand still holding mine. His hand was warm, but I felt a chill seeping out from my bones. The noise of the waiting area seemed to fade, as if coming from underwater. I saw the couple from the next window hugging, the woman's smile radiant. I saw an older couple at another window, getting a replacement for a lost certificate, both with white hair, still holding hands. I saw dust motes dancing in the sunbeams. Everything felt surreal. Miss Peterson returned with the copies. She sat down and began entering our information into the computer. The sound of her typing was steady, rhythmic. I stared at her face, trying to read something in her calm expression, but she kept her head down, focused on the screen. All right, she said, organizing the documents and passing them back. You can wait over there to be called for the oath and to receive your certificate. Her tone was completely normal, the same she would use for any couple. But that gesture, the way she had slipped me the note, the deep look in her eyes, it couldn't have been my imagination. Liam took the documents. Thank you. He took my hand and we stood up, heading toward the small ceremony room. My palm was slick with sweat. Why are your hands so cold? Liam stopped and looked at me with concern. Are you not feeling well? I need to use the restroom, I said, my voice dry. He let go of my hand. Okay, go ahead. I'll wait here. I nodded and walked toward the restrooms, my steps unsteady, as if I were walking on cotton. The restroom was in a quiet corner at the back of the building. It was empty. I rushed into a stall, locked the door, and leaned against it, my heart pounding in my chest. I took a few deep breaths and shakily opened my hand. The note was already slightly damp with sweat. I carefully unfolded it. It was a small piece of paper, torn from a notepad, with ragged edges. There was only one line, written in strong, neat black ink. He has 4 properties, all in a premarital trust. Be careful. It felt like a sledgehammer had struck me in the chest. My vision went dark for a second, and I had to brace myself against the wall to stay upright. 4 properties. A premarital trust. What did that mean? Liam had never told me he owned 4 properties. He had only ever talked about our condo being a shared home. He'd always been vague about everything else. I had assumed his family had other real estate, perhaps in his parents' names. A premarital trust. While I wasn't a lawyer, I knew what that implied. It meant that those properties would have nothing to do with me, not even if we were married for decades, not even if I dedicated my entire life to our family. But why would he do this? And why wouldn't he tell me? 3 years. I thought we had no secrets. I thought he truly wanted to spend his life with me. The fluorescent lights in the restroom were blindingly bright, making my eyes ache. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes red-rimmed. The gold locket from his grandmother glinted under the light. Suddenly, all the pieces clicked into place. The grandmother's unfinished warning, my mother's anxious questions, Miss Peterson's complicated gaze. They all knew. I was the only one in the dark. I heard footsteps outside. People talking. I quickly shoved the note into my purse, turned on the faucet, and splashed cold water on my face. The person in the mirror still looked terrible. I took out my compact and applied some powder, trying to cover my pallor. Deep breaths, Clara. Don't panic. Not now. I smoothed my hair, straightened my dress, and pushed open the door. Liam was still waiting outside the ceremony room. He came over as soon as he saw me. Feeling better? He touched my forehead. If you're still not well, we can come back another day. His expression was so genuine, so full of concern. If this was an act, he was a phenomenal actor. I looked into his eyes, searching for even a hint of deceit, but all I saw was worry and affection. I'm okay, I managed a smile. I think it's just low blood sugar from not eating. I'll go get you something hot to drink, he said immediately. Wait here, don't wander off. He hurried toward the small snack bar near the entrance. I watched his back, his white shirt standing out in the crowd. This man I had loved for 3 years, this man I thought I would spend my life with. What else was he hiding from me? The note felt like a thorn embedded in my heart. Why did Miss Peterson tell me? Who was she? How would she know these things? That look in her eyes, the pity, the hesitation? There had to be more to this story. I couldn't just blindly walk in there and sign that license. Sunlight poured through the tall glass windows, casting a golden halo around him. He smiled so brightly, so purely, as if all the light in the world was focused on him. He walked toward me, the aroma of fresh coffee preceding him. I watched him, this man who was about to become my husband. My mind flashed through the past 3 years. The birthday card he stayed up all night to draw for me. The way he always remembered I hated cilantro and made sure to tell the waiter. The time he sat by my bedside all night when I was sick. The light in his eyes when he held me and said, we were going to have a home. Was it all fake? The tenderness, the promises, the simple, everyday moments? Was it all a performance? He stood in front of me and handed me a cup of coffee. Here, drink this while it's hot. Be careful. I took the paper cup, the warmth spreading from my fingertips. He looked down at my face, his smile slowly fading. Clara, what is it? You still don't look well. I looked at him, at the eyes I had kissed countless times. Then I heard my own voice, as calm and detached as if it belonged to someone else. I forgot my birth certificate. Time seemed to freeze for a few seconds. The smile on Liam's face solidified. He blinked, as if he hadn't heard me correctly. What? My birth certificate, I repeated, my voice still eerily calm. I forgot it. It's on my nightstand. I was in a rush this morning and forgot to put it in my bag. He stared at me, then looked down at the document folder in his hands. He opened it. Inside were only his birth certificate, his ID, and our photos. Mine was indeed missing. How could you? He looked back at me. Didn't you check this morning? I checked, I said, my words measured and even. But I only looked for my ID and the photos. The certificate was on my nightstand with my makeup. I thought I'd packed it, but I didn't. The lie came so naturally, so smoothly, it surprised even me. Liam's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, finally settling into a look of mixed disappointment and resignation. Oh, you, he sighed, reaching out to gently mess up my hair. You're always so forgetful. So what do we do now? Go back and get it? I glanced at the clock. It was 10:20. If we go back to get it and return, we'll definitely lose our spot in line, I said. Besides, I'm feeling a little dizzy and unwell. Maybe we should just reschedule, I suggested. He studied my face, his brow furrowed. Are you really not feeling well? You've looked pale for a while now. I took the opening. I think so. I probably didn't sleep well last night, and not eating this morning isn't helping. My stomach feels a bit upset now. He immediately grew concerned. Then let's go home and get you some rest. The license isn't urgent. We can come back another day. He took the coffee from me with one hand and put his other arm around my shoulders. Come on, I'll take you home. We walked out of the county clerk's office. The bright sunlight made my eyes water. There were still newly licensed couples taking pictures on the steps, their laughter echoing crisply. Liam went to get the car while I waited. A strong gust of wind blew my hair into my face. As I reached up to fix it, the gold locket slid down my neck, its touch cool against my skin. I remembered the look on his grandmother's face when she said some things are better left unknown. I remembered the intense look in Miss Peterson's eyes as she passed me the note. My chest felt heavy, as if a large stone was pressing down on it. Liam pulled up in his black SUV. He'd had it for 3 years and kept it in good condition. I opened the door and got in. The familiar scent of the lemongrass air freshener I'd picked out hit me. He said it smelled refreshing. "Seatbelt," he said, leaning over to check mine. His arm brushed against my chest, his breath warm. Normally, I would have leaned in and kissed his cheek. Today, I didn't move. The car pulled out of the parking lot and merged into traffic. The car's climate control was much more pleasant than the frigid air in the office. Liam turned on the radio, and soft music filled the car. "What do you feel like eating?" he asked. "I can make you some porridge at home, or we can get some soup." "Let's just go home," I said. "I want to lie down." "Okay." We drove in silence, with only the music and the sound of traffic outside. At a red light, he turned to me. "Clara? Are you just nervous?" he asked tentatively. "About getting married?" I looked at him without saying anything. He managed a wry smile. "Actually, I'm nervous too. I barely slept last night. I kept thinking, am I really ready to give you a good life? Can I make you happy?" His words sounded so sincere, his eyes glistening. A week ago, I would have been moved to tears. Now, I only felt a chill in my heart. "Will you give me a good life?" I asked, my voice soft. "I'll do everything I can," he said, reaching for my hand. "Clara, I know I have a lot of flaws. I'm not romantic. I'm not good with sweet words. But my feelings for you are real. I want to spend my life with you, take care of you, and make you happy every single day." His hand was warm, the palm calloused. This was the hand that had held mine countless times, that had embraced me countless times. I pulled my hand away and turned to look out the window. "I'm a little tired. I want to sleep for a bit." He was silent for a moment, then said, "Okay, you sleep. I'll wake you when we get there." I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. My mind was consumed by the words on that note. 4 properties. A premarital trust. Why would he do that? If he wanted to protect his assets, he could have just not told me about them. Why do it secretly? Was he protecting them from me? Or was there another reason? The car came to a stop in front of my apartment building. Liam gently called my name. "Clara, we're here." I opened my eyes and unbuckled my seatbelt. "I'll walk you up," he said, getting out of the car. "You don't have to," I said. "Don't you have to get back to the office? Your dad needed you for something, right? You're more important than the office." He said it so naturally. I didn't argue further. We walked up the stairs, one behind the other. The hallway was quiet, echoing only our footsteps. At my door, I took out my key and opened it. Leo heard us and came running, rubbing against my leg. I bent down and picked him up, and he began purring contentedly. "Want some water?" Liam asked, heading to the kitchen as if it were his own. "I'll get it for you." "I can get it myself," I said. "You should go. I really just want to be alone for a while." He stood in the kitchen doorway, looking at me with a complicated expression. That look made my heart race. It was as if he knew something was wrong. But he didn't say anything. He just nodded. "Okay, then get some rest. I'll bring you dinner later. Don't bother." "It's no bother," he said, walking over and giving me a gentle hug. "Get some sleep. Don't overthink things. We'll go get the license another day. We'll pick an even better day." His embrace was warm and familiar. I had cried in this embrace, laughed in it, been playful in it. But today, I just felt stiff. He let go and ruffled my hair. "I'm going now." The door closed. I leaned against it, listening to his footsteps fade down the stairs. Then, I slowly slid to the floor. Leo came over and nudged my hand with his head. I hugged him, burying my face in his soft fur, and the tears finally came silent. Hot tears. I don't know how long I cried. It was only when Leo grew impatient and wriggled free that I stood up and went to the bathroom. I washed my face with cold water. My reflection in the mirror was a mess, eyes red and swollen, face pale. I opened my purse and took out the note. It was crumpled from being clenched in my hand, but the words were still clear. "He has 4 properties, all in a premarital trust. Be careful." Be careful of what? Be careful of his lies? Be careful of his schemes? Or be careful of something else? Miss Peterson. I had to find her. The next day was Monday. I called in sick to work. At 9 a.m., I was back at the county clerk's office. It was less crowded than the day before, but there were still several couples in line. I spotted Miss Peterson right away. She was behind the information desk again, head down, sorting through some files. I stood at a distance, hesitating. Should I just go up and ask her? Ask her why she gave me the note? Would she even admit it? Just then, she looked up. Her eyes scanned the room and finally landed on me. Our gazes met. She paused for a second, then gave me a slight nod. Her expression seemed to say, I knew you'd come. She said something to a colleague next to her, then stood up and walked toward the restrooms. As she passed me, she whispered, stairwell, without breaking her stride. My heart began to pound. I waited a few seconds, then followed her. The stairwell was at the very back of the building, secluded and rarely used. Miss Peterson was already there, leaning against the wall, an unlit cigarette between her fingers. When she saw me, she tucked it back into its pack. You came, she said, her voice even. The note, I said, getting straight to the point. What does it mean? She looked at me, her gaze deep. It means exactly what it says. Liam Davis has 4 properties registered in his name, and before applying for a marriage license, he placed them all in a premarital trust, which means, legally, they have nothing to do with you. How do you know that? I asked. Did you look him up? I didn't have to, she said with a small, wry smile. My husband handled the paperwork. I was stunned. Your husband? My husband is a paralegal at a law firm specializing in trusts and estates, she explained. Last week, he came home and mentioned over dinner that a young man had come in to set up a premarital trust for 4 properties. All of them are large, in good locations. My husband asked him about it. The man said they were from his family, and he wanted to get things legally sorted out to avoid future disputes. She paused, looking at me. I didn't know your fiancé's name at the time, but yesterday, when I saw your application, Liam Davis and Clara Hale, I knew. The young man my husband talked about was Liam Davis. My hands and feet turned to ice. When did he do this? 10 days ago, Miss Peterson said. The day after you two set your date to get the license. 10 days ago. That day, Liam had told me he had to meet a client and came home very late. I had even saved dinner for him. It turned out he was setting up a trust. Why did you tell me? I heard my voice tremble. You didn't have to say anything. Miss Peterson was quiet for a moment. She took the cigarette out of the pack again, rolling it between her fingers. I've worked here for 20 years, she said slowly. I've seen too many couples come in, happy and excited, and leave with red eyes. And I've seen even more come back a few years later to file for divorce, fighting tooth and nail over a single property. She looked up at me. When you were filling out your form yesterday, I saw the look in your eyes. It was so genuine. I could tell you really love him, that you weren't thinking about anything else. So, I decided to meddle. She gave a self-deprecating laugh. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe he has his reasons. But I believe you have the right to know. Before you commit your entire life to someone, you have the right to know what you're walking into. The light in the stairwell was dim, and her face was partially in shadow. Thank you, I said, my voice hoarse. Don't thank me, she said with a wave of her hand. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a good man with a difficult reason for doing this. But knowing is better than not knowing. We heard footsteps approaching. Miss Peterson straightened up. I have to get back. The decision is yours. She opened the door and walked out, leaving me alone in the stairwell. I leaned against the cold wall, feeling completely drained. The day after setting our date, he was discussing honeymoon destinations with me while secretly setting up a trust. 4 properties he had never mentioned. What else was the Davis family hiding from me? My phone rang. It was Liam. I stared at the name on the screen but didn't answer. The phone rang and rang, then finally went silent. A moment later, a text alert chimed. Clara, are you feeling any better? What do you want for dinner tonight? I'll bring it over. His tone was so normal, as if yesterday had never happened. I stared at the words, suddenly feeling like I was looking at a stranger. This person who texted me good morning and good night every day, who brought me breakfast, who remembered all my preferences. Who was he really? I replied. No thanks, I'll get my own. I need some time alone. He responded quickly. Okay, call me if you need anything. I didn't reply again. I walked out of the county clerk's office into the glaring sunlight. I stood on the sidewalk for a while, then took out my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Jess? It's Clara. There's something I need your help with. Jessica was my friend from college, who now worked at the county recorder's office. We met at a coffee shop. Jess arrived in a flurry, immediately complaining about the traffic. So what's the big emergency? She asked, taking a sip of her latte. You were so mysterious on the phone. I hesitated, then finally said, Jess, I need you to help me look something up. Look what up? Property records for someone, I said. Liam Davis, my fiancé. Jess paused, putting her cup down. Clara, you know I can't do that. It's against the rules. I bit my lip. Jess, I'm out of options. I'm about to marry him, but I don't even know what his financial situation is. Yesterday, someone told me he has 4 properties, all in a premarital trust. Jess's expression grew serious. Who told you that? A clerk at the Marriage License Bureau. Her husband is a paralegal who handled the trust. Jess was silent for a moment, then pulled out her phone. How do you spell the name? Do you have his social security number? I pulled up a photo of Liam's ID from my phone that I had from when we applied for a visa. Jess took a look and started making a call. She walked over to the window and spoke for a few minutes, then came back. I had a colleague look it up, she said in a low voice. He does have 4 properties. One in the Golden Terrace suburb, 1,500 square feet, bought in 2015. One at the South Side, Rivera Lofts, 1,300 square feet, bought in 2018. One in an old building downtown, 900 square feet, but it's in a prime school district. And the last one is your condo, out west, 1,400 square feet, bought last year. I listened, my palms sweating. What about the trust? I asked. I can't see the specific details of that, but the records show a notice of trust was filed recently, Jess said, her eyes full of concern. Clara, what are you going to do? I don't know, I said. I really don't know. I need to think. Okay, Jess. Thank you. You know I won't tell anyone about this. She took my hand. But you need to think carefully. If he's already hiding assets from you, you have to be very cautious about this marriage. I nodded. After Jess left, I didn't go home. I just walked the streets for hours. Around 4 p.m., another text came from Liam. Clara, I'm downstairs. I brought you some soup and medicine. Can you come down and get it? I won't come up. I walked to the window and looked down. His car was parked there. He was leaning against it, holding a plastic bag, looking up at my window. I ducked behind the curtain. My phone rang again. It was him. I declined the call and texted back. I really need to be alone. Please go home. He replied. I left the soup with the doorman. Remember to go get it. You need to eat and take your medicine. I didn't answer. Around 8 p.m., the doorman called up to say a Mr. Davis had left something for me. I went down to get it. It was a thermos of hot chicken noodle soup and a box of cold medicine. Taped to the thermos was a sticky note in his handwriting. Eat while it's hot. Get some rest. I'll check on you tomorrow. I stared at his handwriting, and my eyes started to burn again. I went back to my apartment and opened the thermos. The aroma of the soup filled the small space. It was my favorite kind. He had even remembered to add extra ginger and parsley. I took a spoonful. It was warm, seasoned just right. As I ate, a tear fell into the soup. What kind of person was he? On the one hand, he was secretly protecting his assets from me, and on the other, he was taking such detailed care of me. Which one was the real Liam? For the next 2 days, Liam came every day to drop off food, sometimes soup, sometimes porridge. Each time, there was a small note. It's raining today. Remember to close the windows. I left Leo's cat food with the doorman. Don't stay up too late. He never asked to come up, never pushed. He would just quietly come, leave the items, and go. On the 3rd night, my mom called. Clara, did you get the license? Her voice was cheerful. Not yet, I said. Something came up. We rescheduled. Rescheduling is fine. Pick an even better day, she said. She paused. By the way, Mrs. Davis called me yesterday. She asked if everything went smoothly. I told her you probably rescheduled. She didn't ask much else. Just said to let her know when you set a new date. What else did she say? Nothing much. Just small talk. My mom suddenly lowered her voice. Clara, are you and Liam fighting? No. Don't lie to your mother, she said. You haven't posted anything online for days, and you haven't called me. You always call me, whether you're happy or sad. A lump formed in my throat. Mom, I'm fine, just tired. If you're unhappy about something, you have to tell me, she said, her voice full of pain. No matter what happens, your father and I are on your side. After hanging up, I sat on the sofa in a daze. Leo jumped onto my lap. I stroked his fur, remembering the first time Liam came to my apartment. Leo had hissed at him, and Liam looked so helpless. After that, he brought cat treats every time he visited, and slowly, Leo accepted him. Now, Leo was more excited to see Liam than me. My phone screen lit up. It was a text from Liam. Clara, Grandma wants to see you tomorrow. She said she misses you. I stared at the message for a long time without replying. I decided to go see his grandmother. I couldn't explain why. Maybe I hoped to learn something from her. Or maybe I just wanted to see her. Liam came to pick me up. After a moment's hesitation, I got in the car. We didn't speak the entire way. He focused on driving while I looked out the window, the city scenery blurring past like the last 3 years of our lives. When we arrived at his grandmother's building, he parked the car but didn't immediately turn it off. Clara, he began, his voice hoarse. Can we talk? I didn't answer. He turned to look at me. His eyes were bloodshot, with dark circles underneath. He hadn't been sleeping well either. I don't know what happened, he said, his voice weary. But I know you're avoiding me. If I did something wrong, tell me. I can change. I looked at him. At this man I had loved for 3 years. Is there nothing you want to tell me? I asked. He paused. Tell you what? About you, I said. About your family. About your own affairs. His gaze flickered, and he avoided my eyes. My family is just a normal family. Nothing special. Really? I gave a small, humorless laugh. Does a normal family own 4 properties? The color drained from his face instantly. How? How did you know? Shouldn't I know? I looked him straight in the eye. Liam, we're about to get married, but you have 4 properties in your name that you've never mentioned to me, and you put them all in a premarital trust the day after we decided to get our license. Do you think I shouldn't know about that? His lips moved, but no sound came out. His face went from flushed to pale, finally settling on a sickly gray. Let me explain, he finally managed to say. I'm listening, but he fell silent, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The car was so quiet I could hear both of our breaths. After a long moment, he gave a bitter laugh. Clara, there are some things. I don't know how to tell you. Then start from the beginning, I said. Tell me everything, one piece at a time. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, his gaze held a weight I had never seen before. Those properties. I didn't buy them, he said slowly. My dad bought them using my name. The reasons are complicated. It has to do with his business, things I don't fully understand. But anyway, while they are legally in my name, they aren't entirely mine. And the trust? I pressed. Why did you create the trust? It was my dad's idea, he said. He said it was to protect these assets. He didn't explain the details, just that I had to do it. Before we got the license, he looked at me, his eyes pleading. Clara, I wasn't trying to hide them from you. I'm just used to doing what he says. My whole life, whatever my dad told me to do, I did. I didn't know if I should believe him. If you weren't trying to hide them from me, why didn't you tell me? I asked. Even just giving me a heads up before you did it, so I would be prepared. But you said nothing. You did it in secret, then acted like nothing happened while we planned our wedding. I was afraid you would misunderstand, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. I was afraid you would think I was scheming against you. I was afraid you would leave me. I looked at him, a whirlwind of emotions in my heart. Liam, we've been together for 3 years, I said. 3 years. I thought we at least had a foundation of basic trust. We do, he said, looking up sharply. Clara, my feelings for you are real. The properties, the trust, none of that matters. What matters is us, our life together. What if that life is built on secrets and deception? I asked. What if there are more things your dad tells you to do, and you just do them and hide them from me? He froze, his mouth open, but he couldn't form a reply. The air in the car felt thick, suffocating. Just then, my phone rang. It was Jess. I glanced at Liam, then opened the car door and stepped out, walking to a nearby tree to answer. Clara, I found something else. Jess's voice was urgent. About the Davis family business? What is it? Liam's dad's company is in trouble, Jess said. I heard their credit line was cut, and they're in a lot of debt. Creditors are starting to sue. They might have to start seizing assets. My mind went blank. Are you sure? I asked a friend at the courthouse. There are active cases, Jess said. Clara, those properties. It's probably not as simple as a premarital trust. It's very likely a way to shield them from being seized by creditors. Transferring them to Liam's name and putting them in a trust walls them off. I gripped the phone, my hand trembling. And one more thing, Jess hesitated. You asked me to check for liens on the 4 properties. 3 of them have mortgages taken out against them, and the mortgages were all filed in the last few days, right before the trust was created. The world spun, and I had to grab the tree trunk to steady myself. Clara? Are you still there? I'm here. I heard my own voice, distant and faint. Jess, thank you. Can you send me the documentation? Of course. But what are you going to do? I don't know, I said. I honestly don't know. I hung up and leaned against the tree, feeling a deep, pervading chill. Liam had gotten out of the car and was walking toward me. Who was that? He asked, a hint of alarm in his eyes. A friend, I said. Liam, is your dad's company in trouble? His expression froze. Who told you that? So, it's true, I said, staring into his eyes. Your dad's company is in debt, and his assets might be seized. That's why the properties were transferred to you. The trust was to protect them from creditors, wasn't it? His face was ashen, his lips moving without a sound. His expression was all the confirmation I needed. You knew all along, I said. You knew your dad's company was failing. You knew why those properties were in your name. You knew why you had to create the trust. But you told me nothing, and you were still going to marry me, letting me walk blindly into a family that could be drowning in debt. Clara, it's not what you think, he said frantically. Those are my dad's debts. They have nothing to do with me, and they would have nothing to do with you. The trust protects the properties. They wouldn't have been affected. Our life would have been fine, I promise. Promise? I laughed, but tears started to fall. What can you promise me, Liam? You're still lying to me, even now. Those properties have mortgages, don't they? 3 of them. They aren't clean assets at all. They're part of the debt. He was completely stunned into silence. I know, because I had them checked, I said, because I didn't want to be a fool who was kept in the dark. He took a step forward, trying to take my hand, but I pulled away. Don't touch me. His hand hung in the air, his eyes filled with pain. Clara, I'm so sorry, his voice cracked. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just didn't know how to tell you. My dad is under so much pressure. My mom cries all the time. My grandma's health isn't good. I was afraid if you knew, you would leave me. I can't lose you. I looked at his reddened eyes, my own heart feeling like it was being sliced apart. This man I had loved for 3 years, this man I thought I could entrust my life to, stood before me, so fragile, so helpless. But his fragility couldn't be an excuse for his deception. Liam, I said, my voice steady, we need time. I need time to think. And you need time to figure out how to face all of this. Think about what? He asked nervously. About whether we should continue, I said. About whether this relationship is worth me gambling my entire life on. Tears streamed down his face. Clara, please don't do this. I know I was wrong. I can fix it. We can face this together. We can find a way. But you never gave me the chance to choose, I said. You made all the decisions on your own and expected me to accept them unconditionally. Liam, that's not what a marriage is. I turned to leave. He grabbed my wrist. Clara, please. I looked down at his hand, then back up at his face. Let go, I said. He stared at me for a long, long time, and finally, slowly, released his grip. I turned and walked toward the entrance of the neighborhood without looking back. But I knew he was still standing there, watching me. Every step felt like I was walking on broken glass. I hailed a cab outside the neighborhood. Where to? The driver asked. Just drive, I said. The car merged into the river of traffic. The city lights began to glow, one by one. This city was so vibrant, so alive, but I suddenly felt like I had nowhere to go. My phone buzzed. It was the documents from Jess. I didn't open them. I just leaned my head against the window and closed my eyes. I checked into a budget hotel and stayed there for 3 days. I turned off my phone and didn't contact anyone. During the day, I would just stare blankly in my room. At night, I'd go to a nearby park and sit, watching the elderly couples dance, the kids on their skateboards, the lovers walking hand in hand. The world was so full of life, but I felt like a ghost, unable to connect with any of it. On the 4th morning, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls and over 100 messages flooded in. From Liam, my mom, a few friends. Liam's last message had been sent at 2 a.m. Clara, I'm waiting downstairs from your apartment. I'll wait as long as it takes. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted the entire conversation thread. I called my mom back. She started crying as soon as she picked up. Clara, where have you been? You scared me to death. Mom, I'm okay, I said. I just needed to get away and clear my head. Did something happen with the Davis family? She asked urgently. Mrs. Davis came to our house yesterday. Her eyes were all swollen. She kept saying she was sorry, that their family situation is bad, and that they've dragged you into it. A lump formed in my throat. What else did she say? She said they were wrong about the properties, that they shouldn't have hidden it from you. But she said that Liam truly loves you, and she hopes you won't blame him. My mom paused. Clara, what really happened? Tell me the truth. I gave her a brief version of the story. After I finished, my mom was silent for a long time. Clara, she sighed, I don't know what to say. What the Davis family did was wrong, but that boy, Liam, I can tell he really does love you. Is loving me an excuse to lie to me? No, my mom said. But everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is whether he knows he was wrong, and if he'll do it again. Come home first, Clara. No matter what, just come home. I'll make you your favorite meal. After the call, I packed my things and checked out of the hotel. When I got back to my building, there were several thermoses piled by my door, all left by Liam over the past few days. I opened the door, and Leo rushed to me, meowing pitifully. I held him and sat on the sofa for a long time. At dusk, the doorbell rang. I went to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Liam. He was standing outside, unshaven, his eyes sunken. He had lost weight. He wasn't holding anything. He was just standing there like a statue. I hesitated for a long time before finally opening the door. When he saw me, his eyes lit up for a second, then dimmed again. You're back, he said, his voice raspy. Can I come in? Just for a few minutes. I stepped aside to let him in. He walked into the living room and stood in the middle, looking a little awkward. Leo came and rubbed against his leg, and he bent down to pet him. Sit down, I said. He sat on the edge of the sofa, his hands on his knees, his posture as stiff as a schoolboy's. Want some water? I asked. He shook his head. No, thank you. I sat in the armchair opposite him, the coffee table between us like a river. I've done a lot of thinking these past few days, he began, his voice low, about the 3 years we've known each other, about everything I've done, about the things I hid from you. He looked up at me, his eyes webbed with red veins. Clara, I was wrong, terribly wrong. I shouldn't have hidden things from you. I shouldn't have listened to my dad and set up that trust. And I especially shouldn't have tried to pull you into my family's mess. Tears rolled down his cheeks, but he didn't wipe them away. My dad's company has been in trouble for 3 years. right around the time we met. I didn't tell you because I thought I could handle it, but the problems got bigger. The debts piled up. My dad transferred the properties to my name to try and save some assets. He took a deep, shuddering breath. My dad forced me to create the trust. He said if I didn't, the houses would be seized, and our family would have nothing left. He said it was for our family's good, and for your good, too. He didn't want you to suffer with me. Then why didn't you just tell me the truth? I asked. If you had told me then, we could have figured something out together, instead of me having to find out from other people. Because I was scared. His voice trembled. Clara, I was so terrified of losing you. I know my family's situation. I'm not good enough for you. I knew if I told you, you might leave me. So I chose the stupidest possible path. I hid it from you and pretended everything was fine. He covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking. These past few days, I kept thinking, if I could go back in time, what would I do? I think I would have told you the moment I found out about my family's problems. I would have given you the choice, instead of keeping you in the dark and making you lose all faith in me. The living room was silent, filled only with his suppressed sobs. I sat there, watching this man break down in front of me. I felt no anger, no resentment, just a deep, profound exhaustion. Liam, I said, those properties, what are you going to do with them? He looked up, wiping his face. I've already dissolved the trust, he said. All the paperwork is done. Those properties are now just my personal assets. I also had a talk with my dad. From now on, his debts are his own. I won't help him hide assets anymore. You dissolved it? He nodded. I did it 3 days ago. I looked it up. After dissolving the trust, any appreciation in the value of those properties during our marriage would be considered marital property. The principal is still my premarital asset, but at least you wouldn't be left with nothing. He gave a bitter smile. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but it's the only way I could think of to show you I'm serious. I looked into his eyes. The sincerity there didn't seem fake. One more thing, he said, pulling an envelope from his pocket and placing it on the coffee table. This is my will. I had a lawyer draft it and get it notarized. It states that if anything happens to me, all of my assets, including those 4 properties, go to you. I stared at the envelope, shocked. What? Why would you do that? I want you to know that I have no defenses up against you, he said slowly, each word clear. Clara, the luckiest thing that ever happened to me was meeting you, and the thing I regret most is hurting you. This will isn't a death wish. It's just to give you security, so you know that no matter what happens, you have a safety net. I picked up the envelope. It felt both light and incredibly heavy. Liam, you don't have to do this. I do, he said. Clara, I don't dare ask for your forgiveness. I just hope you know that I truly want to spend my life with you. Not because of what you have or who your family is, just because of you. He stood up and walked toward me, but stopped short of getting too close. I'll find a solution for my dad's company. I'll handle the debts. I won't let any of that affect our life. If you're still willing to give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it to you. If you're not, I'll respect your decision. He gave me one last, deep look, then turned and walked to the door. With his hand on the doorknob, he paused. Clara, Grandma is sick, he said. She's in the hospital. She wants to see you. I'm not trying to pressure you. She misses you. The door opened and closed. His footsteps faded down the hall. I sat in my chair for a long time, the envelope in my hand feeling searingly hot. Outside, the sky slowly darkened, and the city lights began to twinkle on. I opened the envelope. Inside was the notarized will, the terms laid out in black and white. There was also a copy of another notarized document, the certificate of dissolution for the premarital trust. It was dated 3 days ago. In the 3 days that I had been unreachable, he had done all of this on his own. I picked up my phone and opened my chat with Jess. Jess, can you do me one more favor? Can you check Liam Davis's property records again? See if there's still a trust filed. Half an hour later, Jess called back. I checked. No record of a trust. But there are new lien filings. They were just recorded today. Liam? Yeah. It looks like he used all 4 properties as collateral to take out a large loan. Jess paused. Clara, What is he doing? I didn't answer, but in my heart, I had a sinking feeling I knew. The next morning, I went to the hospital. I got the room number from the nurse's station. As I approached the door, I could hear voices from inside. It was Mrs. Davis, crying, "Mom, you have to get better. Liam is already working on a solution. He'll fix it." I gently pushed the door open. Grandma was lying in the hospital bed, an IV in her hand, looking very pale. Mrs. Davis was sitting by the bed, her eyes red and swollen. They both looked up, stunned, when they saw me. "Clara," Mrs. Davis stood up, wringing her hands. What are you doing here?" "I came to see Grandma," I said. Grandma's eyes lit up, and she reached a hand out to me. I walked over and took it. It was so thin and cool. "Clara, you came," she smiled, a weak but genuine smile. "I knew you would. How are you feeling, Grandma?" "Same old problems." "I'll be fine," she said, her grip on my hand tight. "Clara, dear, I'm sorry. I should have told you everything from the start. I shouldn't have let you be kept in the dark." I shook my head. "It's all in the past. That boy, Liam." Grandma sighed. "His father has controlled him his whole life. He just does whatever his father says. What he did was wrong. But his heart, it's with you. It really is." "I know," I said. Mrs. Davis was wiping away tears nearby. "Clara, our family has done you wrong. His father has dragged everyone down with that company. To pay off the debts, Liam has mortgaged all the properties. I told him he didn't have to, but he wouldn't listen. He said it's his responsibility." My heart clenched. It was true. The loan was to pay the debts. "Auntie, where is Mr. Davis?" I asked. "At home," Mrs. Davis said with a bitter smile. "He's too ashamed to face anyone. The creditors call every day. He just hides. The company has already filed for bankruptcy, but the personal debts still have to be paid." Grandma patted my hand. "Clara, don't feel any pressure. Liam said this is his father's problem, and he will solve it. He won't let it affect you." I stayed for over an hour. Grandma didn't have much energy and tired easily. I peeled an apple for her, cutting it into small pieces and feeding them to her. She ate slowly, but she seemed happy. When I left, Mrs. Davis walked me out. At the elevator, she suddenly grabbed my hand. "Clara, I need to ask you for a favor. Please, go ahead. Give Liam a chance," she said, tears welling up again. "That boy, he's lost more than 10 pounds these past few days. He doesn't sleep, just runs around all day trying to raise money, but he never complains. He just says it's what he has to do. Yesterday, he told me that if he has one wish left in his life, it's to have a good life with you." The elevator arrived, but I didn't get on. "Auntie, where is he?" "At the company." "No, it's not a company anymore, just an office, where he's handling his father's debts." I got the address. It was an old office building in the northern part of the city. I took a cab there. I found the office. The door was ajar. I could hear voices. "Mr. Davis, this payment has to be in by the end of the month. Otherwise, we'll have to pursue legal action." "I know. The money is ready. It will be transferred tomorrow." "Good. To be honest, Mr. Davis, you don't see many young men willing to pay their father's debts these days. It's the right thing to do." A man in a suit walked out of the office and paused when he saw me. Liam, who had walked him out, saw me too. He was clearly surprised and stood frozen for a moment, unsure what to say. The man in the suit nodded and left. Now it was just the two of us, in the bare-bones office. A desk, a few chairs, and piles of documents. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice nervous. "I came to see you," I said. "I heard you mortgaged the properties." He nodded. "Yes, the debts my dad owes. I calculated it. The loan from the 4 properties, plus my savings from the past few years, is just enough to cover it." "Then what will you do?" I asked. "The properties will be gone." "Where will you live?" He smiled a little. "I can rent an apartment. I'm still young. I can earn it back." "You dissolved the trust, then took out a mortgage to pay off his debts," I said, looking him in the eye. "Liam, what are you trying to achieve?" He was silent for a moment. "Peace of mind," he said. Clara, my dad made a mistake. He owes money, and it has to be paid back. I made a mistake by hiding it from you, and I have to face the consequences. I can't say I love you on one hand, and on the other, ask you to share this burden with me. Once the debts are cleared and the properties are dealt with, then I can stand before you with a clean slate. He said it so calmly, as if he had thought it all through. What if I don't want you? I asked. What if I decide to leave you? Then all of this would be for nothing. He looked at me, his gaze incredibly gentle. Then it will be the price I pay for my mistakes, he said. Clara, I'm not doing this to win you back. I'm doing this so I can live with myself. I can't let you marry a man who is full of debt and full of lies. At least, in my own heart, I need to feel like I deserve you. Sunlight streamed in through the window, illuminating his face. He was much thinner, but his eyes were bright. It was a clarity I had never seen in him before. Does Grandma's illness cost a lot? I asked. It does, but it's not overwhelming. I set some money aside for it, he said. Don't worry, I've arranged everything. I won't let Grandma suffer. I walked to the window and looked down at the bustling street below. This city was so big, and everyone was rushing around for their lives, for their responsibilities, for love. Liam, I said, if we get our license right now, and you use the mortgage loan to pay off those debts, wouldn't that debt become marital debt? He paused. Theoretically, yes. That's why I need to take care of it first. And if we don't get the license? I turned to face him. What if I'm willing to help you pay it back? His eyes widened. Clara, I'm not a saint, I said. I'm just trying to figure out if the way you treated me for the last 3 years was real. If all those little things were just an act. I walked up to him. I thought about it all night last night. I thought about every detail of the last 3 years. I thought about how you remembered my cycle, how you burned your hand, learning to cook for me, how you brought me food when I worked late and waited downstairs until midnight. Tears streamed down my face. If all of that was an act, then you are the best actor in the world. So good that I feel like I might never meet anyone who treats me as well as you did. His eyes were red. He wanted to say something, but no words came out. Liam, I hate you for hiding things from me. I hate you for lying to me, I said through my tears. But I hate myself more. I hate that I should just walk away, but I can't let you go. He reached out his hands, wanting to hold me but hesitating, his hands trembling in midair. Clara, I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him. His body went rigid, then he hugged me back tightly. So tightly it felt like he was trying to merge me into himself. Neither of us spoke. We just held each other. The sounds of the traffic outside, the distant honking of a car, all faded into the background. After a long time, he loosened his grip and cupped my face, gently wiping away my tears. Clara, I don't deserve this. I get to decide that, I said. But Liam, this is the last time. If you ever hide anything from me again, we are really, truly over. He nodded fiercely. Never again. I swear, I will never lie to you again for the rest of my life. We'll pay off the debts together, I said. I have some savings. It's not much, but it can help. And I can take on more illustration projects, work freelance at night. He covered my mouth with his hand and shook his head. No, I'll pay off the debts. You keep your money. Clara, I want to marry you, not make you suffer with me. But that's what marriage is, weathering the storms together, I said. If you insist on carrying everything yourself, then what's the point of us getting married? He looked at me, really looked at me, for a long, long time. Then he lowered his head and rested his forehead against mine. Clara, what did I ever do to deserve you? That afternoon, we went to see Grandma. When she saw us walk in together, she was so happy she cried. Mrs. Davis was crying and laughing at the same time, saying, "This is good. This is so good." When we left the hospital, it was already dark. Liam held my hand as we walked down the street. The streetlights stretched our shadows long behind us. Clara, he said suddenly, wait for me to pay off the debts. Then we'll get our license. Okay? How long will that take? 2 years, he said. 2 years at most. I'll sell the properties, and with the loan, I can clear most of it. I'll work to pay off the rest. In 2 years, I'll be 33. And I'll be 31, I said. He stopped walking and looked at me, his expression serious. If you're willing to wait, I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. If you're not, I understand. I smiled. Wait? Why wouldn't I wait? Besides, it's not like I'm interested in anyone else. He smiled, too. And as he smiled, tears welled up in his eyes. He pulled me into his arms and held me tight. Clara, thank you. Thank you for being willing to wait for me. I leaned against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong. The streetlights glowed like a winding river of stars. I knew the road ahead would be long. There were debts to pay and difficulties to face. But for now, we were holding each other's hands. For now, we were willing to walk this path together. As for that marriage license we didn't get, it can wait 2 years. It can wait until we're both ready, until we've both earned the right to call ourselves married. Then, we'll go back to that office, hold hands, and say, I do to each other. And this time, there will be no secrets, no deception, just 2 people, truly in love, deciding to spend the rest of their lives together. Liam bent down and kissed my forehead. Let's go home, he said. Yes, let's go home.